Looks like I have the wrong. Oh, great, it's not even here. You gotta be kidding me. Did that do it? All right, there we go. There I am. So I only have about 30 minutes because I'm in the middle of retreat, and I promised my partner because we're having to share a room, so I don't have a proper office. But there's a lot of amazing things going on in micro and macro. Let me head over to the chat real quick. And I just wanted to touch base with you guys about those things. So first, let's talk about the retreat announcement. I have met a wonderful man from the Matsis tribe named Carlos Jimenez. The Matsi made contact with the outside world for the first time in 1969, and they were the originators of the combo medicine. And so, speaking of combo, our current guest actually is already experienced profound relief from the side effects of chemo pills. Visibly reduced inflammation, like massively reduced, after only 1 day, one combo treatment. Coca leaves, kushuru, not really sure if it's one of them or all three, but it's a pretty miraculous thing to witness. And so at any rate, he's going to be present at the September retreat, and I'm also going to be learning from him. So the proper combos and the techniques, and they diagnose issues by looking at the color of the vomit. So I have to learn about that. So it's really an honor. I'm really excited to have connected with someone from the original lineage, because it's really important that these traditions are preserved in their original format. So super stoked about that. And then the other topics that I wanted to just touch on, I think maybe a month ago, scientists, I don't know if it was neuroscientists or physicists, or I know Penrose had something to do with it, Roger Penrose. But it was believed that quantum effects could not occur in the brain because it's too noisy and wet. For example, superconductors had been posited as a material basis for how the brain can compute so much information so rapidly. You know, consciousness would take a tremendous amount of computation. According to Roger Penrose, consciousness is not computational. And that's a subject for another stream. It's really interesting. If you haven't watched any of his talks, I would definitely recommend going to do it. But then quantum effects were observed in the brain. And the way that that's facilitated probably has to do with light, because superconductive materials become superconductive below the critical temperature when exposed to light, some of them, including gold. So that happened, and now it's only like, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks later, the announcement that evidence has surfaced that the brain actually uses quantum entanglement to process information faster than light. And this is really interesting to me because, I talk a lot about this Phoenix experience process that I had years ago, where there was a voice that I would interact with that told me a lot of things that always turned out to be true. Like Terence McKenna said, it's no accomplishment to have a voice in the head, but to figure out whether it's telling the truth or not. And so I was very anal about checking. And so one of the things it told me is that consciousness is faster than light. It's the only thing that's faster than light is consciousness. And so that, I actually just remembered that today. So that was really interesting to me. But there's a bigger picture here. One aspect of it is that the speed at which things are moving, right, all throughout the world. You look at the political spectrum, we have all this chaos, things are just going nuts. I'm not going to talk about it. You guys have been watching, I'm sure, or aware to some extent. On every level, science, neuroscience, the study of consciousness or understanding of consciousness, how the brain works, a lot of things that are relevant to my areas of interest. This sort of idea that science and spirituality can dovetail. We're watching that happen. And we're watching it happen in a way that really validates the ancient knowledge that was nearly ubiquitous across the globe at one point. As Albert Pike said or wrote in 1851 in Morals and Dogma, man had the truth and found error. And I think that, we're watching the death throes of the old paradigm just as this new paradigm is emerging with blinding speed. So I was talking to someone about this, and she said, it's like things are speeding up, time is speeding up. And it occurred to me that if that's true, it would probably be because the universe is expanding faster than light. And I haven't had a whole lot of time to dig into this, but it looks like that's correct. And this is just kind of an adjunct, just mentioning, in case you've been wondering this and thinking, am I going crazy or is time really speeding up? Apparently Einstein suggested this way back when he came up with his theory of relativity. Sorry, rape dripping out of my nose. So yeah, that's a pretty tremendous thing. But here's the real kicker. This is heavy duty stuff if you really are able to process the implications of it. What's going on, Neil? Let me check in with the other chat real quick, too. Oh, the vertical chat does not have my... That makes no sense. It's there in the OBS, but not in the chat. Oh, well, guys, you just have weird psychedelic lights and no person for some reason. Okay, so... Entanglement, in case you're not aware, I think everyone's heard about this at this point, but when particles become entangled, even if they're 100 billion light years apart, they register changes instantaneously. And this is a big problem for, relativity, and information shouldn't be able to travel faster than light and all that. So, the deeper underpinnings of it suggesting that everything is fundamentally connected throughout the entire universe. Every movement that you make, every thought that you think affects the subatomic world. This has led some people to believe that we can actually affect things with consciousness, which is still kind of an iffy idea. The double slit experiment doesn't really prove that the way that a lot of people think, but it's still a possibility. It's still on the table. But if there is quantum entanglement occurring in the brain, and the brain is actually using it, it's not just happening in the brain, but the brain is using it to generate consciousness or to process information fast enough to create this experience. We have a tremendous amount of data coming in, sensory overload, from the universe, obviously. So it's a good explanation. But here's the thing. Those particles that are communicating or facilitating communication in your brain via entanglement are entangled with particles all over the universe, with other people's brains, with trees, with, stars. And so, I've been talking a lot about how these developments, the work of Michael Levin and the electromagnetic field, which, by the way, it occurred to me, talking to a cancer survivor recently, that, using Michael Levin's work as a basis, right? He's determined that you can change, not even DNA. It doesn't even change the DNA, but the progeny of organisms can be manipulated via the electromagnetic field, right? And he's also, tumors, shrinking them, regenerating limbs. So this electromagnetic field seems to have more, or has been proven to have more of an influence and control over biological organisms and their growth and development and evolution than genetics. So what do you think all of these cell phones and God only knows what, all of the stuff that we're doing to mess with the electromagnetic field in the United States and other modern countries is doing to people, especially cancer? So that was a wild thought, that we have actually managed to contaminate not only the rivers and destroy the rainforests and poison the oceans. We have actually managed to pollute even at the level of the unified field, the electromagnetic field. We have even made that toxic. So, but the point of all this is that we have discovered organisms that do not have neurons, that can count, that have memories, etc. Right? Slime molds that can engineer subway systems. So now we have removed the necessity of a physical brain to sustain or generate awareness or at least cognition. And then when you couple that with the implications of entanglement, not just occurring in the brain, but facilitating experience and cognition, and then realizing that mind is connected to all other minds, theoretically. You know how many particles are in your brain? Many of them are entangled with every other person on Earth. The doors open to a scientific basis for telepathy and precognition and interspecies communication and all sorts of incredible stuff. And the thing is, a lot of us on the fringes have experienced these things legitimately. I know I have. But our minds are very powerful, and they can edit reality. Selective perception is very powerful. This is how a lot of people maintain their political beliefs, their religious beliefs. It's actually a survival mechanism. This is why when you challenge it in people, they panic and they get angry, because it's fight or flight. This is an instinct that is wired to our survival. It's connected to our survival. So when science suddenly shifts and says that immaterial consciousness or awareness or cognition without a physical basis has been proven to exist, and that there is a universal field that is like a mind that actually governs evolution, and our health is connected to it, and our experience and thoughts, this is an incredible paradigm shift. And as I've been saying for years, well before all of these scientific developments, I've always felt that the reason that they have turned up the propaganda engines and they have started distracting and dividing everyone is because this sort of exposure to a holistic reality undoes the old paradigm practice, I guess, of making the mundane or the ineffable mundane. And, whether it's psychedelics or meditation, whatever, at this point, speaking of science, the evidence is overwhelming that transcendental experiences change how people behave. They make us psychologically more healthy. They make us more kind, more open, more understanding, more aware. And so this new paradigm, the implications of these scientific discoveries shift us from the old modality into a more holistic state of mind where the transcendental will be the standard modality of experience. It'll become the norm. And if that happens, then you have an illuminated, aware populace. One of the consequences of this is that your subconscious becomes less dominant. Your conscious mind takes over. That's why it's called becoming conscious, awakening, right? You're becoming less of a robot. And when that happens, most of the evil in the world is driven by animal level instinct, fear, greed is driven by fear, all of these things. And so when these animal instincts are reduced, a person does not need to be governed. They know they don't need to be governed. They're not a danger to anyone else. They just want to live their purpose. The crisis of purpose is resolved by the transcendental experience as well. And that is one of the main mechanisms that the overlords use to exploit and dominate. If you don't determine where your compass is set, someone will set it for you. And that's what's happening all over the planet. And with this emerging new sort of awareness, that will no longer be possible. So the overlords have to do everything in their power to try to stop it. And I honestly really believe that that's what we're experiencing. Yeah, I'm not surprised that the internet isn't fantastic here, but it is what it is for the next 10 days. When I get through with this, I have 2 weeks off. We're going to bust out a lot of content. I'm going to be digging deeper into all these subjects, and it's all developing so quickly. There's always something new to talk about. I mean, every single day, Stuart Hammeroff, who is a research partner with Penrose, just all day on Twitter, new developments in the orc theory and our understanding of light and consciousness, and what are they called? The little tubes that slurp up light. I don't know how I can't remember that right now, but all right. Well, it looks like our stream quality isn't very good, and that's really all I had to say. I just wanted to make sure that I gave you guys the bullet points, of this stuff, especially the entanglement thing. Discovering, that's one of the points that I think I failed to make. To go from quantum effects are not possible in the brain to 3 weeks later, entanglement probably gives rise to our consciousness, entangled particles, really the only way to explain. This is why it's the hard problem. One of the reasons it's the hard problem, is that there was almost no way to explain how the brain does what it does. But quantum particles that can communicate faster than light, that really helps. But the speed at which that change occurred from can't happen at all to has as its basis entanglement, it's incredible. We're, approaching light speed. And one of the things that gives me faith and hope that we will prevail is that this is moving so fast, there is nothing that overlords can do to keep up with it. Consciousness is faster than light. They cannot, it will surpass their ability to curtail and control it. So thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. Consider becoming a patron. Actually, real quick, let me give some shout outs, or maybe I should just do it when I have a better connection. Funk Boy, thank you for becoming a patron. Empress Taitu, and I'll have to, we'll get to the rest of the shout outs in a couple days. I'm going to keep trying to stream even though my connection isn't good. I don't want to leave you guys hanging, but we'll see you guys again soon. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching.